Okay, what's up, everybody? We're back.
It's Jay.
Unsolved Spirit Talkers. I've been seeing that a lot lately, though. Like people that tag us on Facebook and stuff, they say, "Oh, they used to be called Unsolved whatever."
Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah, now they're Spirit Talkers. So, like, we get tagged in a lot of stuff now. That people, they say, like, anybody know any just spooky podcasts in general?
Yeah.
And like a bunch of people will tag us and stuff. So thanks for tagging us and letting everybody know that we're here.
Motto.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like the comments too that be like I get scared, but then like they always make me laugh to take that fear away. Because like sometimes people say like it's like good to be serious, but like sometimes like being too serious can be like, God, I'm just frightened now. But with us like cracking up all the time, that humor and everything, then they get all right about it.
Yeah. And then there's some, let's say like, oh, how can you take these guys seriously? They just laugh all the time.
Oh, I know.
I got nothing to say on that.
Beat him up, Tyler.
Nah. I just say, won't you laugh, guy? Like, it's okay. You gotta be angry all the time. He's just that stoic native.
I know it.
Like, chin out. Like that. That guy.
That guy that likes to flex and pose at the same time. Fuck that. No.
Always got his arms crossed.
I'm flexing. I'm not.
I'm not. I'm just being native. This is my rusty native face.
God.
Smile. Dang.
When we were in IA one time, we went to this one house, and this guy came out, and he was like walking around like this, like with his traps out, but he had no traps. They're just like bony shoulders, and he had like this tank top on, and he was just like walking around the house like this, and we are just like cracking up at him. We're like, dang, those Goldbergs.
Let's go.
Brock Lesnar's.
Dang it.
Yeah, I mean, this used to be like, I used to work out at Gold's a long time ago. There's this big old boy in there, man. He walk around like this. We said he had imaginary lat syndrome because he thought his back was just broad, just huge. He couldn't put his arms down, but he got nothing. It's just like, dang, man, he got imaginary lats.
Dang.
Yeah.
That square walking around.
Yeah. Excuse me. You about done with that?
Dang.
How many sets you got left? More weight.
Just turning around like that.
Yeah. You didn't.
I can't turn my neck
can't
because I'm
turn
so
his neck.
huge.
Got that Batman neck.
That T-Hawk neck.
Yeah, there you go.
Tell us who this guy is.
Oh, I was going to go to listener stories, Chris.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. Oh, no, but that's T-Hawk. If anybody knows, that's a character from Street Fighter. And,
yeah, that's all right.
Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know how Tyler got him to stand up. It took me forever to stand him up.
Oh,
Took me like 30 minutes, and I was like, dang, this guy about threw him away.
no, man, he's got that toe.
Got those Yeezy boots on.
Well, he's got the toe articulation on that big toe, like that.
Dang.
Yeah. Did you get this at the toy mall? We're gonna
Yeah.
always shout out the vintage toy mall.
Vintage Toy Mall. I got them over there. Reasonable price. I've been wanting a T-Hawk, but dang, on eBay they're like
Crazy.
Yeah, they're crazy expensive, but
Yeah.
man, they posted him on their page, and I had to have him. Luckily,
Yeah.
they had him like throughout the week, so I went and got him. And might be selling shirts over there, guys. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
yeah. So anybody around the Tulsa area or Oklahoma area in general, if you come to Tulsa and go to Vintage Stock, you might see our shirts there.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, he's pretty cool. The owner, I think he's the owner, but he's like wanting to work with us and everything. So I was like, yeah, dude, if you'll allow it. But they have that local wall.
Oh yeah. Where you
So
going?
he was like, yeah, he's like, if you guys want to do that, he's like, I'm down, but just let me know. I was like, oh shoot, okay.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I'm gonna be fishing for that 10% discount. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna get that stipend. I want that $50 stipend a month. for me
Spin.
and my wife.
Got to go in there, Chris?
Oh, I'd like to go though. I'd like to go check it
Oh,
out.
man.
It's right up the road.
Every
Oh, yeah?
time me and the wife
Mm-hmm.
fuss, that's where I go. That's my place. I walk around and reminds me of happy times. She don't listen, so
Dang.
I'm just teasing. That means I only go there like once a year, though. Nah,
You probably there every other day, dog.
shoot, I stay in the doghouse.
I wanted to say something real quick. You know, I was a couple weeks ago. Nephew over here, Russell. You know, he did a show here in Tulsa with who was it?
Oh, Stenjati?
Yeah, Stinjati. And I want to say, you know, I was real proud of Nephew over there. Boy, he really put on a good show. You know, all his artists that he had there, they were amazing. You know, I thought it was just very, very well run and very well organized. And, you know, he had good turnout. You know, his jokes was funny. You know, some of those guys get up there and they try to joke, and everybody just sits there and look at him like that. But you know, he had all his timing down. Everything looked sharp. It's good. Good job, nephew.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for coming, Unks. Tyler went there.
I completely forgot all about it.
Uh-huh.
I saw y'all post pictures of it, and I'm like, dang, didn't even get. No, I'm just kidding. I really did forget. I really, because I think it was like on the first day of school or something. That's why I couldn't go.
Uh-huh.
I'm old, man. I can't be staying out running with those big dogs anymore. I know my place.
You're
on the
25,
porch.
Tyler. No, but yeah, Stenjati was the headliner. Shout out to Stenjati for giving me the opportunity to host that show. I really do appreciate that, man, and thank you so much for letting me do that. And then we had Frisco from Okmulgee, HV from Okmulgee, and Mad Matt from Okmulgee as well. After that, we had Frank Thompson from here in Tulsa, and after that, we had KMJ, one half of Kicked Hopeless, and then we had after that Wootko. After that, before Stenjati came on. So, man, go check out all these artists. They have really great music. I believe they're all available on Apple and Spotify and YouTube. So I think it'd be like Wootko Music. It's WOTKO and music after that. Go check him out. Frank Thompson, go check him out. Kicked Hopeless, that's KICKD Hopeless. And then Frisco, I believe like everything for him is like Frisco 400, I believe. So go check all of them out. Download their music, stream it. Support your local artists, man, because they're out here grinding too, and they're just trying to make things happen. And I was impressed with everybody. So, I mean, even like Wootko remember he had a mishap with his audio.
Yeah.
And he went a cappella.
Yeah.
And that was super cool to see that. Like, he didn't let anything bring him down. He just did it. And so, but everybody was supportive. Everybody was cool. And, yeah, thanks for coming out. If you came out, we'll let you know when the next one is.
I was real impressed with Wootko, man. I tell you what, you know, especially like you said, you know, his equipment messed up, and he just went on with the show. He didn't stop, slow down, or anything. And, you know, not to say anything, you know, bad about anybody else, but, you know, his music was pretty tight. You know, it was well written. I mean, it's very amusing music. So, anyway, I was real impressed, you know, with all those artists, you know, that you had there. I mean, they were one after another. Bam, 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 bam. I mean, they just got better and better. And then towards the end, that Greasy, Greasy Fry Bread song rocked the house, boy.
I know. I saw you dancing with your stanky leg.
God. My stanky leg went that way, and I was going that way, like that way. So,
There's video of that out there.
so got all the way down to the floor, like that, and then
Bring
pop
it up.
back up, boy.
Do it some more.
God.
He was literally, knee was popping, his hip was locking. He's flopping on the ground like a fish. Thought he was having a stroke. Russell had to come. He's going to put his wallet in his mouth so he doesn't bite his tongue into. He was really enjoying that.
I'm just glad it wasn't hot, like super hot in there. Like we were blessed with like some rain that day, and I mean even prior to that, we had like rainy mornings, and then like the days are like what 80 and 90 that week.
It was nice,
and so it was really nice to have that. I mean now it's kind of hot, but it's kind of calming down. You know, summer's coming to an end, but man, I'm just glad it wasn't super hot in there.
Yeah.
When I got there, I was like, it feels pretty nice in here. I mean, I was still sweating, but I was trying to keep everybody's time in place, and I was just trying to make sure, you know, we were out of there at a respectable time too. So
that was awesome. I really appreciate that, because man, even myself, you know, that was a little bit too long for me to stay up and stay out. So anyway, I know a lot of them was ready to continue on after that, but you know, myself, man, I was ready to go straight home and jump in that bed and go sleep. So
then 49 with them.
No. So. I showed up and showed out till 11:59. No.
Then he turned into a pumpkin.
There you go. Vanished just like that.
Yep. Puff of cedar smoke.
Man.
Disappearing act.
I wanted to read we had a message from Omar. I don't know if you guys remember Omar.
Oh, yeah.
He sent some things in, and you know, Omar, nephew, if you're listening, we're gonna read your story today. Well, he kind of sent a message, so I'm gonna read it to you guys. And he said, Uncle Chris, I got out of basic not too long ago. I'm getting processed into my unit now, and I watched the episode you were talking about. Whoa, I appreciate the feature, the message, most of all, so much, so I had to rewind and take notes to remind myself to stay in good spirits and pray more now than before, and to be positive light in my family's lives and anyone's that I come across path with. If you don't mind telling everyone on the podcast, thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you, Unc. It was very valuable lesson there. Thank you so much.
Oh.
Again, we appreciate you for listening. You know, and you know, keep strong out there. I know there's a lot of things out there that might try to bring you down, but you're a strong brother. You know, keep going. Aho.
Yeah, thank you, Omar.
Yeah.
Always, I didn't know he went to the Army.
Yeah.
Basic training.
Basic.
Yeah. So, hang in there, man. And thank you for listening. We're always like, wherever you're at, man, get lonesome. I know it gets lonesome by yourself and everything. But we're here for you. There was a person that sent me a bunch of stuff, but I asked him how to pronounce his name. All right, so we have a person that reached out to us on Instagram, and we're kind of getting acquainted and everything. And so he sent me some stories, and I told him that we'd put it on the air or put it on the show. And so, but he's going to say how to pronounce his name because I'm probably going to butcher it, everybody. So this is where he's from and his name.
Ishko, you can call me Ishko of the Lenca Poton. Lenca is my nation and Poton is my people.
That's his people. That's where he's from. And then he sent me some stories. Let me see if I can get him to play.
But anyways, bro, let me go ahead and tell you the story. So this happened when I was in El Salvador, right? And I want to say I was like 13, and it was the last time that I went, actually. And this was in my grandfather's territory. in his property, I guess you could say, right? I was there, and I had to go to the restroom one night, so I woke up my cousin. And one thing that people don't know is that in El Salvador, where we're from, our restrooms, they're kind of like a little distant. They're like at least from 100 to 300 feet. You know, it's not that far, but it's still so distant. You know, this is because we have outhouses and stuff like that. So, anyways, me and my cousin, we go, right? We make it into the restroom and whatnot. We're talking to each other, having a good time. I go into the restroom and I'm talking to him, having a whole conversation. And once I'm finished, I step out. I leave him in the restroom, right? But the thing that I noticed, though, when I got out of the restroom and into the forest, I noticed that everything was real quiet. I couldn't hear any animals. Like right now, I know you can hear the little beeping and all that. Those are little birds chirping, at night. Why they're chirping, I don't even know, but they're doing it. But anyways, back home, I didn't hear any of that. It was dead silent, and I got scared, and I started to look around me, and then out of nowhere, I felt this heavy presence, right? I felt something heavy. So I go ahead and I look up, right? And when I look up into the tree where I was standing right next to, I see this shadowy being, right? But the shadowy being, it looks like a beast that's crouching down, just staring at me, right? And the best way that I can describe this is if you've seen the X-Men, and I hate using this example, but it's the best way that I can describe it. I grew up with the X-Men, so if you know Beast from the X-Men, the way he crouches down, the way his stance, the way he stands up, and the way his stance is, right? He looks like a crouching beast. Well, that's what this entity looked like. But the only difference is I couldn't see his face or anything else. I can only see the outline, and it looked like a dark shadow. And this entity, it stared into my eyes for a very long time. I lost count of the time, I couldn't tell anymore. I snapped out of it whenever this entity smiled at me. And you're probably asking yourself, how did it smile at you? Like, how did you know it was smiling at you? Well, when I was looking at it, I couldn't see the mouth. I couldn't see any of that. I can only see the eyes. The eyes look like red brass, like red, fiery coals, basically. And I don't know if you know this, but whenever somebody smiles, their eyes, they kind of go sideways, right? They stretch out a little bit, and your face changes. Well, even though this entity didn't have a mouth, I could see it, and I can tell that it was smiling at me. So when that happened, that's when I snapped out of it, and I ran as quick as possible. I ran, and I got to my grandmother's and my grandfather's house, right, which was not that far away. Again, it's like 100 to 300 feet, right? Not that far. And I busted my knees right in front of the front door. And I remembered, like it was yesterday, I had a cut that looked like the letter V, as in Valerie, and then also L, as in, Larry. L as in Larry, I'm telling you that because I feel like I'm lisping. I just took out one of my teeth, so one of my tooth, sorry. So that's why I sound like this. Anyways, so that's what I remember as a little kid, and I went mute. I couldn't talk anymore after that. And so my grandfather, he basically took me to the church the next day because my grandfather was not only traditional, but he also believed in, those ways of the foreigners, which I'm not proud of saying that, but at the same time, my grandfather was a very wise man, and he understood things a little differently than everybody. And I feel like that's the reason why I'm open-minded, and I accept different ideas, not to the point where that's what I'm gonna do, but I listen, I listen and I analyze. So that's a quality that my grandfather had, and so he did that. He took me to church. It's not something that I like, but he took me, and they, I guess, put some type of oil on my head. I'm not sure what they did to me, but the fact is that I still couldn't talk after that. So I had to wait, like I want to say, probably like 2 days, for me to start talking. That's when I started to say what I saw. And my grandfather told me, I believe you, son. Your dad used to see that at your age, and so did I, and so did my grandfather. So apparently, only the males of my family see it. Why? I don't know. But fun fact, my grandfather knew how to take away bad spirits in our culture, and also in the foreigners' culture. He knew how to speak Latin and how to exorcise quote unquote demons. And I won't get too much into that, but that is a history that my grandfather did have. He was a traditional person, but he also had that knowledge. He was a very curious person, always asking questions, always getting into things that, were just something that we didn't know, I guess you could say. And I feel like I got that from him, and I'm proud to share this story because my grandfather was a great man. In fact, when he was buried, right, people saw his spirit. 2 people that were not a part of our family saw his spirit, and including my aunt, who is part of our family, they all saw his spirit looking down where he was at, smiling. So my grandfather had great power. And it wasn't because of his arrogance or anything machista, nothing like that. It was because of his spirituality and the humble person that he was, the way Creator Spirit made him to be.
Boy.
But anyways, that's just one of my stories that happened to me personally. I have way more stories that my grandfather talks about, and also my mother, even my grandmother, and other people that I have in my family. Again, I am from the Lenca Nation, the Poton tribe, and it's an honor to speak to you. And I was just playing about the message that I sent earlier. I hope you didn't take it personal, brother.
God.
Oh, dang.
Much respect. Akuki.
No, he sent because he sent like, "Hey guys, how's it going? I got some stories," and I don't know, his message like got pushed down, and so I didn't see it. And then he said, "Y'all don't like Southern natives or what? I've been messaging you guys," and he goes, "I'm gonna have to send Bigfoot and Dogman after you." And then he sent this picture. And I was like, man, honestly, your message got mixed up with all these other ones too. I was like, and Instagram's kind of weird. Like, I'm not really used to Instagram Messenger, but I'm trying to get used to it. But I was like, I'm sorry, man, but yeah, send us your stories, and I'll play them most definitely. Yeah. And so he sent all that, but yeah. I mean, that was the story.
Muddo for that story. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Good one.
Do you think that was a Sasquatch? Name was Bigfoot that he saw? He said a shadowy beast that looked like beast. He didn't say it had hair.
Yeah.
But he did say fiery red eyes.
And it smiled.
And it smiled
at him. But he said like his dad, like all the men in his family see it. Yeah. That's what he said.
Is that a thing? Like,
well, in different countries, they have different beliefs and different, what do you call it? Every one of them have different things about their Bigfoot type entity. So, again, I think all that stuff's possible. But, I liked his story or his stories, because it kind of touched a little bit, of everything. And, I know tonight, we were going to talk about stories from powwows, 49s, church meetings, just more of a ceremonial type story background. And, when we were coming up with this topic, just to let you guys know that, we weren't bringing this topic up, to disrespect anybody or to, do anything negative. I know everybody's going to kind of say things about this episode. But, the thing I wanted to kind of do with this episode was to bring some education and some different way of looking at things, especially here in the Indian country, here, all these stories that we requested, and I'm thankful for each and every one of you guys that have sent in stories and things like that. But, again, the premise of this episode was to kind of educate a little bit, about some of this stuff. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get on to this topic, and one of the stories, it comes from here in somewhere here in Oklahoma in Seminole country. There's of course they have how you say traditional churches way back in the day. And this individual, of course, doesn't want it to be announced or let their church know, because they're not trying to cause any problems there. But they said, this happened probably in the 70s, and during the 70s times, you still had these Creek and Seminole churches that were real traditional. They were similar to our ceremonial grounds. And what I mean by that is when you went to these church services, you had men sit on one side, you had women sit on the other side. There was etiquette on where you sit, depending if you were a member or not a member. That all sounds similar to, ceremonial people, because again, everything was same. They had camp houses around this church. Those camp houses were there to feed and help visitors that come from a long way. And anyway, just to kind of give you that kind of kind of understanding of what this individual's talking about. They used to have services kind of like a lot of tribes might understand, kind of like New Year's services, whether it's our green corn or whether it was, New Year's services, they used to say before we step into that new year, whatever tribe, we all kind of had the same beliefs. Before you stepped into that new year, if you had grudges or, had maybe got into it with somebody or something like that, you don't want to carry that further. So right before this service, they would have this church service or this service, and they would try to, put all those things to rest before they stepped into the new year. And, with these old churches, again, just like at the grounds, they would tell you, this is a time for you to, if you need to apologize to somebody or you need to make something right, this was the time to do it before the new year. You didn't want to go in there into the new year with all that old baggage. That's a ceremonial thing. That a lot of tribes, they practiced that, whether it was a church or whether it was ceremonial. Before you stepped in, you had to take care of those things. And there were etiquette to these services that they used to sing, all the way, sing, pray all night, and they would fast during these services. And then straight up midnight, right before midnight, they would sing this, what you might say like a closing or a New Year's song. And there was a kind of I don't know how you say, there was several of them that you had to sing kind of in order, and there was one that they would sing towards the end right before it became midnight. And they would sing those 4 songs, and then that 4th one would be, like I was saying, that closing song or that New Year's song, as you guys might know it as Old Way. And anyway, the story goes, they were doing all those things, they were people were getting up, expressing things, getting it off their chest, making sure that when the new year came that, they didn't have any of that old baggage, and it was getting close to midnight, and they always say when you start praying and singing, you don't let anything interrupt, those songs, and you don't let anything interrupt your focus, because during these services you're not only praying for yourself, but you're praying for each one of your loved ones, your community, everybody that you have dealings with. It takes a lot of thought to think about those things, and that's what they used to tell them during this time, because they sing these long 4 songs. It gives you time to make that prayer for each one of your loved ones. You're to name them, and what you want for them, and same way with your community leaders, and the things that you're wanting, not only for them but for yourself, and for maybe people that you don't even know. Those are things that you're supposed to pray about during this time. And they used to have stories just like this one that he's telling. It was getting closer and closer to that midnight mark, and he began to. He was a young guy at that time, and he was naming all his friends, and his animals, his pets, and he was thinking about things. But suddenly, out of nowhere, a big bang hit that front church door. Banged 3 times on that front door, or that church door. And he said it was so loud, it scared him, and he just lost train of thought. He looked at that door, and back then those church houses would be full, because everybody would go. Everybody would go, and that's where they talked in Seminole or Creek, however you want to refer to it. And they sang and they preached and they prayed, all in that native language. And when that big bang happened, he noticed that Deacon was sitting towards the back. He got up and he looked. And he said that Deacon opened that door just to see who it might have been, knocking on that door. And he opened that door, and he said all those little kids, they was all just like meerkats, all looking up, over those pews, trying to see who it was, and there wasn't no one there. And so Deacon called for a couple other men to go out and look, see if it was somebody that might needed help, and they went outside and looked, and nobody was there. And so they came back in, and of course everybody else was still singing and praying. They tried not to interrupt that, but of course the kids, they all lost focus. They all lost that wanting to pray and to sing. And afterwards, they did their appropriate closing of the service, and right before the pastor dismissed everybody, he addressed that. He said, like I have said before on this podcast, this world is old, and there are things out there that we don't know of that roam. And some things are good, and some things aren't so good. And he said, he felt like that thing came to disrupt us from praying. And, he was thankful that, all those ones that continued to pray and continued to sing did that. Because again, the premise of this service was not only to pray for yourself, but for your community, for each and every one of your loved ones, and the things that are in your life. And so, again, I wanted this episode to be, about those old ways. And again, for sending that story in, I just wanted to say Mado for that, for you taking the time. And I hope I did a good job on that story. Mado.
Yeah, it seems like every time you're trying to do good, something tries to disrupt that, and that's a good example of that happening. And then I mean, like, there's videos now. I mean, like, we know this stuff's been going on, but now everybody has a phone, right? Everybody has a phone or something to actually get stuff. And there's like videos on TikTok where people are just like in their house and there's something like trying to get in their door or something and just like knocking on it and stuff. And then they go and look and nothing's there. And it's like terrifying. It's like, oh my gosh, like if that was to happen to me, I don't know what I would do. But yeah, I mean, like, that's just wild. That's a wild thing to even think about. And don't nobody be knocking on my door trying to trick me.
My next story that was sent to me, you know, again, this one has to do with, you know, a 49 story. And this one was up towards nephew's already ready over there. No. This one happened in Oklahoma, of course, you know, and they said this was on a back road, you know, Four Corners Road. And anyway, this guy was a young guy at this time. Now he's actually a leader amongst his people, you know, and he was telling me at this 49, you know, they all met up, and, you know, back then, again, this story comes like around the 70s, so anyway, those guys were wild back then, so grandma and grandpa didn't know how to behave back then. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, you know, they were always told not to, you know, mix that drum and that drinking like that together. But, you know, that you had that 49 going on, you know, and anyway, there's a long story that, you know, kind of goes with that, but, you know, that's a different story. But anyway, he said that, you know, they all met up, you know, they was all, you know, they had plenty to drink. There was a lot of pretty people, boys and girls there, you know, they were singing and dancing and, you know, snagging and getting all marked up, and, you know, and you know, they'd go all the way up to the sun comes up, and they said it was getting kind of close. You could start seeing the sun start to come up, and she said that looked like, you know, you'd see people laying around all around in those fields and in those cars. Looked like a big old bomb went off, you know, people laying out everywhere. And you just had a handful of singers, you know, still there, and just a couple people that I guess too ugly to snag. So they were still dancing around, she said. And she said, out of nowhere, they heard this beautiful woman voice come from the bushes. And she said it was so beautiful that it just kind of enticed those singers to, you know, those few singers to really start jamming it, you know, and they was really singing, and that sun was coming up, and they saw when the sun come up and hit those woods just right, that where that voice was coming was a tall deer.
Oh, man.
And it just went into the woods. Mm-hmm. And she said there's a lot of people that's still around that can remember that. Mado for that story.
Whoa. Was it like standing up?
She just said you could see that like doe, the head of it. Mm. And she said it was tall, so it must have been standing up, and it just went into the woods.
Whoa, that's awesome.
When's the last 49 you went to, Chris?
Last weekend. No, I'm just kidding.
Yesterday.
Nah,
Last night.
Last night I was. No. So I was
Jotty.
we were singing all those northern, southern, all kind of songs, but it was just me. Oh, no.
Have you ever seen anything like? Have you been to 49?
Oh yeah, I've been to several.
Have you
of
ever
them.
seen like anything crazy?
Well, some things I can't speak of.
Whoa,
Nah.
whoa. Oh, I mean paranormal.
Well, that mossy rocks.
Start naming names.
So I got a list of names. I'm getting ready. Y'all better send 250 over here. Or I won't name you. No, I'm just kidding.
So I met Tyler.
He had that magazine in that back seat. God, no.
Too ugly.
Dollar to read.
You got 1 minute.
The ones I went to, though, you know, again, they were always pretty crowded, you know, pretty crazy. I was more worried about getting stabbed than anything else. But,
True. Yeah.
beat up or something. But I mean, I never really, I don't know, I never stayed till when the sun came up. I usually left. So
It is creepy, like, because it's out in the middle of nowhere, and I've been to somewhere you don't even know where you're going. It's just like you're trying to follow somebody too, and then but sometimes like you have somebody in the car that knows the location, but you're just driving down this like dirt road or something in the middle of nowhere, and it's like, oh man, like in my back then driving back road, and it's like, dang, somebody just run across the road, or I don't know, hope my car don't stop or like die or anything out here in the middle of nowhere.
I think most of the 49s now, though, they're like,
I don't think they have it anymore.
they'll have them like in bars or,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
they're not like the traditional 49s like you're talking of.
Oh yeah, this is back in. Yeah, this is before. Well, I mean, not before bars, but but I think like like when I would go, I think the last one I went to was like 2012, I think, and it was that might have been the last round of like out in the middle of nowhere type of 49s. I think. I don't know anybody, so just let us know if there's still some in the back road somewhere.
You know, there's
And we'll
gotta
go.
be.
We'll go. No.
Spirit talkers will be there. Y'all name it, we'll be there.
Tyler bring his magazines.
Ah.
Chris will have his little hand towel. And nothing else.
But like you, like, I mean, driving there, it was like scary. Like, oh, it's kind of creepy. But then when you get there, it's like, yeah, I don't want to get jumped or anything. Like, I always had a crew around me. Like, make sure I don't get beat up.
Man. So, somebody's girl always wants to talk to you, and everybody gets mad, you know. So it's too much drama, I think. But I don't know. But you know, I know like now, you know, they have a lot of those sober 49s.
Oh,
like
yeah.
at Stroud and.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like they call them 49 birthday parties, like at a bar, but they only go about maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours tops, and then of course the bar closed, kicks them out. So
Yeah, all the superstars are old, so
yeah,
we can't go all night. No.
dang, I was hoping that Dennis Zotai would have sent us one in, because I know that guy. He was like the king of 49 way back in the day, but I know he's still around. I know you watching, so shame on you for not sending the story. No, I'm just kidding. But,
And I think Ponca Power is this weekend too, right?
yeah, they 49 too, I think. It's been a while though.
But you did have DW at Purim.
I sure did.
Yeah.
I sure did. And I even danced with her. I even round danced with her. So I'm the true unks.
Well, there's that one in Stroud too, didn't you say? She tried to get you to go in the woods.
No, that was
That was out of state.
Oh, that was out of state.
Mhm.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought that was
out
in
of state.
Stroud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Whoa.
Dang.
I'm trying to put Chris
Tyler.
all over the place.
Oh no! But before we move on to the next story, shout out to Purim, Oklahoma, and David Birdtail.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thank you so much for having us there at throwing on an event.
That was actually pretty cool. I mean, we got to go around afterwards, and
dude, you remember that? I forgot about that.
That was some crazy stuff. You guys didn't see it or didn't go, man. That's on you guys, man. That was an awesome show. It was awesome.
Well, when we went to look around, where did we go after that? What was that very last spot we went to?
I think they called it Possum
Trail,
Possum Hollow,
Hollow, or something like that.
Hollow, or something like that.
Yeah, Tyler don't even know, but yeah, they took us in the back roads, and I guess a lot of activity happens there. But the last place we went, there was a tree pushed onto the road, and I don't know if we're gonna go anywhere after that, but there was a tree pushed on the road, and I was pretty tired. And I was kind of like just going around, and then like a rock flew.
Yeah, there was several big size rocks that were kept going across the road.
Oh, no way.
And they had this real strong odor. And so, I don't know. I seen those big old rocks going across the road, and that's when I said I think it's time for us to go, because I just knew that one of those rocks was going to hit the car, and I'm like, man, we better get out of here for.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was pretty cool. Pretty cool all the way around. Even some of the stories, they had a Goat Man story, and that I think we went to that area where that thing had been seen. So I'd love to go back down there and try to catch it. So see if we can find it. But
yeah, Tyler.
I know.
Tyler would have been gone if he saw that.
Yeah, loosed.
Then I tried to get Russell to go out in those woods, but I'm glad he didn't, because they had a big old snake in them woods.
Oh, at that creek, remember?
Yeah.
That's where that goat man was, they said. And then, like, we're shining our lights down there, and there's, like, this giant snake down there.
Whoa.
Sleeping on a rock. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. I think it was a boa.
Yeah. Had a little Cherokee guy in his stomach. No. Yeah. You can see those Cherokee mocks sticking out his mouth like that.
Kicking. Fluttering.
Oh. But yeah, thank you for having us and showing us around. And yeah, after that rock was thrown, everybody jetted out. We're like, let's get out of here.
Do you have a listener story?
Yeah, I do actually. Well, we're kind of a little bit behind, this story is, but I'm glad they sent it anyway. And if you still have these stories, because I had a lot of people say, well, I didn't know y'all were doing that, about the service workers, fire department, police, all that kind of stuff. But you can still send them in, because we'll still read them. But this one is from my brother Travis Wind. Travis is a Muskogee Seminole. He says that I've been in EMS for 15 years as a paramedic, and I worked my first 5 years on an ambulance in Oklahoma City, and now at Creek Nation EMS here in Okemah. Our EMS station was the original Creek Nation clinic. A few of our medics have seen or heard something in the old station, and we heard a lot of footsteps in the middle of the night walking up and down the hall, shadow people, doors opening and closing, and that sort of thing. These things I've heard and seen myself. One incident that happened before I started working there, our station had a small kitchen area, and one night while everyone was asleep, there was a loud crash, and everyone jumped up to see what it was, and as they walked into the kitchen area, all the cabinets were open, and all the pots and pans were on the floor. Then everything was put back into the cabinets, and we all went back to sleep, and a little freaked out, of course. The same night it happened again, but this time no one got up and left everything until morning. The old hospital had a lot of activity in the basement area where the hospital supplies were stored. Security had footage or has footage of an entity jumping off the roof to the ground and walking and then jumping into the basement window. That's awesome. A spirit jumped off the roof and then landed, got up, and then jumped through the basement window. It was wild to see that footage, and they had plans to send it into some paranormal shows, but I'm unsure of what happened to that footage now, though. There was also a lot of activity on that old campus. While they built this new hospital and a new EMS station, we got moved into the new station, and one of our medics, unbeknownst to a few of us, brought some bricks from the old station as memorable items. And during that time, my buddy said that there had been people knocking on his room door when he was sleeping. We work 48-hour shifts, and when we wake each other up, when there is a 911 call by knocking on the door. My buddy said he heard knocking and thought it was his partner waking him up to go on a call. We opened up the door, and there was no one there, and we wondered if they followed us over here to the new station. And then we found out bricks from the old station were brought over, and we had that medic take them back to the old campus. And he said, that's just a couple of our incidents. Not all our medics are Muskogee, but they've heard stories. One that is funny in a way, one of our medics came into work one morning, and we see feathers on his truck grill, and we all examined it closer, and we saw a smashed owl. Someone had got a stick and knocked it loose onto the grass, and that owl went back to bones and then dust in the same spot because no one ever picked it up, not even the maintenance guys. And then he said, "Muddo." They were too scared to pick it up, so they just left it. I thought that was pretty funny. But he asked me, about, if I'd ever heard of anything like, mementos like that. Like he's talking about those bricks being brought over from the old station to the new station as kind of like souvenirs or whatever. And I told him, yeah, we had a whole thing about cursed objects, or, that's why you always want to smoke off all your stuff, like thrift store stuff, because you just don't know where that stuff comes from.
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of playing a little bit of roulette, you want to think that it's all on the up and up, but, you may see that evil doll in the corner.
Yeah. Take me.
Yeah, might come and get you. But I told him, we had a whole episode on cursed objects. But yeah, I just want to say, Travis, Muddo, for sending that. Those were awesome stories. Yeah, so thank you.
Do you smoke off your toys you get?
You know what?
You just said that, and I was like,
I just said that, and
I
don't. I mean, I guess I get so excited. The kid in me.
Yeah.
I just don't. I mean,
they're not used toys, are they?
Yeah, that one's...
Some of them are, yeah.
They're like...
You can get both.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're not like... I don't know. They might be played with, but sometimes they're just like collectible items that people just... They have to sell, I guess, for money.
Yeah.
Or maybe like they're trying to cash in what they have at that time because something's hot, right? Like, and they get whatever money they can from the figure, I guess. But
Pops are like huge. I was in there one time, man. This dude brought in like 6 like plastic tubs full of Pops.
Funko
Pops.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang.
I was like, dang, that's a lot of Pops. And I said, oh boy, I was like, man, those things sell? He was like, they do. I was just like, I just never got into them.
Me neither.
Yeah. I'd rather have Andre the Giant or
You
something
said
like
you
that.
said Pops. So I just thought of Pepsi.
12 cases of Pepsi.
That's what my first thought was, Pepsi. I said, dang, I would have drunk all that Pop.
No, but you're right. Now that I think about it, I guess I need to smoke off my Hollywood Hulk Hogan I picked up a couple weeks ago.
You might start running around.
Yeah. Start running around.
Choke me out, brother.
Like a Puppet Master.
Yeah. That'd be kind of cool, though, I guess. I better be careful what I say.
This next story, I just want to say up front, I want to apologize if I don't get everything right on this one because it had a lot of detail. And again, I'll try my very best, and I apologize if I make any mistakes. This story comes from up north, and this happened in the I guess, the late 60s. And my understanding is that, that I guess he said it was more like Native American church type ceremony, but it was also their kind of a combination of their ceremonies, because he said he remembered it being in a teepee. But again, amongst his people, they had this belief, those flashy guys you don't want to go to. You want to go to the one that's humble looking, to run these meetings. And his father was really having some bad luck, just one after the other, one after another. Just seemed like nothing was going right. So he contacted this elder within their tribe, and he was known to know things. And so he told him, he said he was gonna run a meeting for him. And to make a long story short, it came down to the day that they were going to do this meeting. He said this meeting, it started late at night. And he said these kind of meetings, he said he remembers going to them, but, they're no longer like that anymore. He said now it's more, upbeat, and you don't really have elders running these meetings anymore. You got, just whomever wants to run them. But back when he was growing up, you only had certain people that ran these meetings. And he said he remembered going to this person's house, and they had that teepee up. And they went in, and of course they had a person that seated each and every one of them. And they had a fire in the middle of it, and this old man, he said, this scary looking old man came. They helped him in, and he sat it in the front of everybody. And, he asked his father to come and sit in front of him, and he told everybody that in this meeting, he's going to do certain things. He's going to use some of his tools to help this individual. And he told them that, if he said sometimes in these meetings, the things that are put on us can also come in here too. And he remembers that, because that when he heard those words, he automatically got scared. He like, what, God, what's this all about, And but he said, I'm gonna ask, everyone if it's gonna bother you, you need to excuse yourself, and then nobody's gonna say anything to you. He said, because our focus is this individual. We're going to take care of him tonight. We need to stay focused no matter what comes in here. We got to stay focused. We got to pray. We got to sing. And we got to take care of this individual. So anyway, he said a few of his people left, but his mother wanted him and some of the other close relatives to stay in there. And he was a young man at that time, and he said, I want to go, Mom, I want to go. And she goes, no. She said, because if you love your father, you got to have that love enough to help him face whatever he's facing, that to give him strength, to know that his whole family's there with him, whatever is bothering him. So You know, he said, "Oh, okay. Well, once you put it that way, I'll stay." He said, "But I don't want to stay." You know, they kept trying to get out, but anyway, once they closed that door, you know, that old man, you know, he said it was all in their language, though. It was all in their language. He said he addressed that the few that were still in there, and he had brought out this little box. He said it was just all like a kind of like a old. He said certain kind of box, and you know, again, you know, this guy that was gave me this story, you know, he has references that I don't even understand, but you know, anyway, he's talking about this box, and he said it was kind of a common box, you know, but they used to put their feathers and different stuff. It wasn't like a cedar box like everybody's got today, you know, all painted up and everything. It was just a simple old box, and he brought that in, and when he opened that box, he said he brought his feathers out that he was going to use on his father. He also had different herbs that he was going to use during this meeting. And he said he was getting these all out, getting them prepared, and he was addressing everybody in their language, you know, telling them that, you know, they need to stay focused, you know, and that he's going to walk them through this. He said, somebody put something on this individual. He said, and we've got to get rid of it. We got to send it back to where it came from. And he said, you know, I'm going to do that here. He said, but I'm going to need y'all's help and your love for this individual to help send this thing off. You know, he said, I'm going to start that first song. And he said, I'm going to use this certain herb. And he said, I want everybody to partake of it. He said, you know, you got to use this. Everybody's got to be one. One thought, one mind in here. And it's for this individual. And he began to sing this song. And he said, when that old man began to sing and everybody started to join in to sing this song, you know, they were passing those herbs around, and they were, you know, taking a bite out of it, you know. He said that teepee began to shake. And, you know, he didn't really think anything of it. He just thought maybe it got windy outside. But he said he started to notice as the song going on further and further, you could even see the poles on that teepee start to move. And after that song was done, that old man explained to them, said, now, again, we need to stay focused. Whatever you hear outside or whatever you feel, don't lose your concentration. You know, we all need to pray and sing for this individual. You know, he said, I'm getting ready to put out this other herb that we all need to take a part of, you know. And he said, you know, this song, you know, it's for his spirit, you know, for his body. And, you know, he said, again, you know, everybody needs to stay focused, and no matter what, you know, whatever you have, he said, when I start this song, he said, things are going to happen. What those things are, I don't know. He said, but this thing isn't going to go in an easy way. And I need each and every one of you to focus your love for this individual. And he began to sing that song. And he began to pass that herbs out, you know, for them to partake. And he said it was going around. And he said, you started to hear like people talking outside that teepee. And you started to hear growling like an animal. And he said that growl was so deep and so loud and powerful. He felt it in his chest. And the fear he had felt at this moment, he said you could not explain it in words. He said he was truly terrified. He said this isn't like a terror that you would ever experience unless, you know, you knew that was going to be your life, you know. And he said even that is not explaining the fear that he felt at that moment. And he said, you know, he was trying to focus and, you know, think about his dad and, you know, all the things that old man was telling him. And you know, he was trying to listen to the song and trying to sing it, you know, and he was trying to focus on that song, you know, the song that old man was singing. But the fear got him so bad that he couldn't even follow. It just almost like blocked him from, you know, even trying that song. He said, you know, it got stronger and stronger and stronger as that song went by. And he said by the time the end of that song, you know, when that medicine came around to him, you know, it was hard for him to digest it. You know, he had so much fear in him, and he couldn't understand why. You know, and that old man, you know, again addressed him, you know, said, you know, everybody did a good job, you know, and need to stay focused on this individual. And anyway, he's told him, he said, this third song I'm getting ready to sing, he said, I'm going to pass out this different herb, and it's to cleanse things, to take care of everyone that's here. And he said, in this song, you know, it's more of a like a cleansing type song. And he said, you know, once I start that song, he said, you guys, if you're feeling anything or anything, you needed to tell it to go away, to leave. He said, and whatever you do, don't be afraid. He said, because, you know, I'm calling upon the Creator to help us, to heal this individual and to take this curse off him, to send it away. You know, and so anyway, he said that old man began to sing that song. And he said that song, when he started to sing it and he started to pass that herb around again, and this was also a different herb, he said everybody began to partake. He said as soon as that song started, he said that fire began to flicker and it started to change colors. It went from that yellow to like a green, and then it became a black fire. And he said that black fire began to rise as that song went. He said that he was trying not to be afraid, but when he saw that fire, you know, he was just petrified. He said he was so scared he knew he should close his eyes, but he couldn't do it. It was just like he was frozen. And he said, you know, that medicine was going around, and he said by that time, he said that fire was black. It was pure black, and it had a shape of a man in that fire. And it began to look at each and every one of them. And he tried his best not to look at it, you know, but it still looked him right in the eyes. And he said he was so terrified he couldn't even think. He knew what that old man had told him, to tell him to leave you alone, to get rid of it. And anyway, that old man threw something into that fire, and it made that thing scream, and it went up through that teepee hole, and the fire went back to normal. And that old man explained to him, said, that thing that some of you might have saw was what was on this individual. He said, this fourth and final song, he said, I'm getting ready to sing is to keep that thing away from this individual and from yourselves. He said, again, I need you guys to, stay focused and not show it any fear. And he said, on this last medicine, we're all going to wash off with it. After the end, we're going to go outside and we're going to wash off and drink it. So he began to sing that song. And he said, when he began to pass that bucket around for everyone to drink, he said when it came to him after he drank it, he said he got this feeling of calmness. All that fear went away. And he said that after that old man finished, and he said that they were going to go outside and they were going to wash off with the rest of that medicine. And he said, I need everybody to finish it all off. He said, just keep passing it around till it's all gone. So, he kind of got scared, but he remembered that old man saying, do not, whatever you do, don't give it any fear. He said, know that the Creator has taken care of these things. Anyway, they were going outside. He was a young man. Of course, he had that good feeling, but yet he was still hesitant. He still had that fear, as you might say. And they walked out to do that medicine. So they begin to face east. And, they start drinking and washing off and taking turns. And he was still kind of scared. And he looked up and he thought he saw a black shadow sitting on one of those tables that was there. And it gave him a big smile. And he looked away. And then after he washed off and drank that, he said he never thought of that thing again. So, again, I appreciate that story. Aho and Mado. And again, I hope I didn't upset anybody on that one. Mado.
That was an awesome story.
Yep. Can't fear him, man. Mm-hmm. That's what I've always been told too. Mm-hmm. Fear can just open up a whole new book in your head about stuff. And the things we talk about, there's always good and evil, but I don't let it run me.
Yeah. They feed on that fear.
Dang, I really like that story. Again, I know a lot of tribes have different healing ceremonies, and I know up north, you guys still got, some traditional ways going on. I appreciate you guys for sending those stories in like that, Again, I wanted to do this because these kind of stories you don't hardly hear anymore. I feel bad for Native country because for whatever reason, we don't share these stories. These are good stories to teach you a lot of things. But the thing I think is prominent that you should get is that these things are real. You know, whether it's here in Oklahoma, whether it's up in Canada or Alaska or wherever you might be, they had things like this, and they had ways of dealing with these things. You know, and what I liked about this story was that, you know, today he's right. You know, things have changed quite a bit. You see not these old guys that know what they're doing, but you got all these young hot shots, you know, out there. You know, the ones that you used to ask to do these kind of meetings or these kind of healings, they had life experience. They knew things. You know, they had already got their wild ways out of them. You know, and as we have mentioned before, there was a way of life to these medicine people. They weren't just showy. They didn't have the keenest fan or the coolest vest or the biggest hat. They were humble people. That was the ones that you would look for, the ones that, you know, that were just plain, humble, simple people. And, you know, back then they used to say, you know, they would never take those roles unless they've had that life experience. You know, they've already gone through their wildness. You know, today, you know, we got a lot of youngsters, and I'm glad, you know, we got people in there that's wanting to take these spots, but, you know, you got to understand, you know, to heal somebody, you need to come correct. You can't be wild or it's just a part-time thing. A lot of times this is for life. This is, you're doing this to help somebody either to live longer or to get better or to be able to be a better person. And if you can't take care of your own household, you don't need to be in those spots. You know, too many of these supposedly elderly medicine men, they're with young girls now. You know, they've left their wives, you know, for something younger, you know, or that's kind of, you know, I will agree with these guys. You know, they're talking about old ways, humble ways. You know, I even look at myself and I say, man, I know I'm not humble, and I'm first one to get mad. You know, I'm the first one to hold grudge. So I remember so-and-so from third grade. No, I'm just kidding. So even myself, I still ain't grown up. So, you know, I don't have no business trying to run no church or no meeting or nothing like that. You know, and I think Indian country needs to look at those kind of things. You know, quit trying to be that leader when you're not. You know, it's good to have that ambition, but you got to understand some of these positions, they're for life. You can't just something come up, I got quit, I got to turn it back over to you. You know, no, that's why they only used elders. You know, now everybody, even our elders aren't elders. You know, they're out running around acting crazy too. So, you know, you got those uncles out there like that. No, but yeah, you know, I think about those kind of things, and you know, I'm out and about and I see all kinds of crazy stuff. So I definitely understand what these guys are saying. So a ho and a do for those stories.
Yeah, and then there's paintings too, right? People paint a lot of the things that happen with meetings and different type of things too. I know my grandma would have them just on her wall at our old house. I don't know where they're at now. They're probably just dang trashed. Because like when we lost that house in Yellow Horse, I don't know what happened to all that stuff, but I mean, she had some really nice paintings and pictures of like just, I didn't understand what they were at the time because I was just a kid, but I mean, they were like just paintings of meetings and things coming out of that teepee and everything. So, but I wish I would have, you know, paid attention more to those paintings and maybe asked her like, well, what is that? You know, but I didn't know what it was. It just looked like people sitting around to me because I was a kid. Like nobody ever said like these are ceremonies. You know, these are things that our people do, and yeah, I mean, I think it's important to at least talk about them, right? Like, and to call out the ones that probably shouldn't be leading anything.
Yep, I agree.
Yep, like Tyler.
Yeah.
He was nasty. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Dang that guy. No. Man.
No.
Always deflecting y'all's bullets.
He's bulletproof.
He,
No, I'm just
he
kidding.
always act like he didn't do it. He didn't say it himself. So we just repeating, you guys.
It's because y'all egg me on. Y'all can't.
There's a lot I have to cut out on Tyler's. No, just kidding.
Got hours and hours.
I'm the
Tyler Randall.
I'm the big motor mouth. Y'all never know it.
Oh, but yeah, no, I've never been to a meeting though. I mean, I guess I have with Uncle Ronnie Good Eagle. Yeah, that was an experience, but I was kind of going through some stuff, and I don't know, just out of nowhere, he invited me to that. But I was like, yeah, I'll go. I mean, but things just kind of work out in a weird way.
Yeah. I remember when I came to Pawnee, you know, he invited me to come. You know, he said, you know, I know you're going to be working with our youth. He said, I want you to come over. I want to pray for you. You know, he said, I know that's going to be a hard job. You don't have elders in these communities like that anymore that look after their people like that. You know, all they do is, you know, I this and I that, you know, and you don't see that kind of love in those communities anymore. You know, he was a good one. You know, that, you know, he did good things. You know, he would go out of his way to be helpful. And, you know, I remember him talking about, you know, having meetings, and he would say, you know, everybody wants a meeting, but nobody wants to do the work. He'd be putting up those teepees all by himself, you know, and he said, there's a lot of people out here that could help me, but he said, well, when I call upon them, they don't answer the phone. I said, "Dang."
Look on their caller ID. They know.
I know it. I said, dang. Nothing's just changed these days.
Didn't
But
pay the phone bill.
to go knock on their door, you see that curtain just move just a little bit like that. No.
Those blinds kind of shift.
That TV turned down.
It quickly goes off. You guys know who we're talking about. No. Don't be getting mad either. No.
Yeah, I had that happen to me one time right before I started teaching school. They had I think Tulsa Powwow Club had a powwow out at about the old Expo Square Pavilion in Tulsa, and I ran into Charles Chibitty, and he told me, he's like, yeah, you know, your grandma's telling me that you'll be going to be teaching, and I said, yeah. And he said, well, come on out to the house. And I did the same thing. He said, I'm going to pray for you. And, you know, he's Comanche. And so I went over to his house, and, you know, it was really special. You know, I ain't never done. I mean, I didn't go to him. He came to me, you know, and I just thought that was real neat. You know, I thought it was pretty. And it's the only person that's ever, you know, done that. And so whatever he did that night, you know, it stuck because, dang, 19 years, still doing it. I've never thought once, you know, pay's terrible and you got to put up with a lot, but, you know, I've never really crossed my mind to do anything else. You know, so I know a lot of people are leaving the profession, but hanging in there, you know, so yeah, but
You'll be like, I'm going to Texas, guys. Next episode.
One of the funniest things, though, there's this kid, and she was in 5th grade, and you know, she was trying to pay me a compliment. She's just like, I sure like having you as a teacher. I said, well, thank you. You know, I'll enjoy having you as a student. She said, I hope you just teach here till you die. I said, well, thank you. And then they I said, if I just kill over, man, they just sweep me out of the way, prop me up in the corner, and get somebody else in there. Just don't even let the body get warm. I thought it was funny though. She said, I hope you teach here till you die. I was like, thank you.
Put your favorite toy in your hand and a pencil in the other one, or a shader.
Yeah. But I do also want to reach out and say mado to Native American Link. That is a Baptist Native American praise group. And out of nowhere, they sent me a gift card to use in my classroom. Ooh. So they're doing that for all the Native educators out there. And so they gave me a Walmart gift card to go spend money for stuff for the kids. And I just want to say mado, because like I said, that's another thing. I just showed up in the mail one day. So I was pretty keen. I was excited for that. So thank you.
What were they called again?
Native Link. Yeah.
Native Link?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to Native Link, man. Hooking up Tyler.
Yeah. I want to shout them out.
All right. My next story comes from Creek Country. And again, I want to thank everybody for sending in those stories. You know, this one is about one of our ceremonial grounds that are here, and you know, I know we've lost a lot of stuff, you know, over the years, and I know COVID, you know, has really caused for us to lose a lot of people, a lot of important people to our ceremonial grounds, you know, and with that being said, you know, I'm going to go ahead with this story. You know, this comes from one of our ceremonial grounds here amongst the Muskogee people. You know, during summertime, they have 4 dances per ceremonial grounds, you know, and each dance is for different purposes, you know, and a lot of times, you know, they play stickball, and you know, back in the day when they used to play that stickball, you know, they used a lot of medicine during those times when they would play stickball, you know, way back then. This story comes from the 50s. So, you know, again, you know, this was still kind of a very strong time for Muskogee people, you know, and with that being said, I'm just trying to kind of give you enough information for you to kind of understand this story. You know, when they play stickball, you know, usually it's amongst themselves. Sometimes they play against related grounds that they kind of share fire with, you know, or, you know, kind of kinship of some sort, you know, and but yet that east and west game could be real rough. You know, nowadays most of these grounds, they play that friendship style of game. But my understanding, they still play that east-west game, you know, can be kind of rough, you know, and they used a lot of medicine during that time. You know, I used to, well, actually I seen this, but you'll hear a lot of stories before a stickball team would come. They would come out and they would sing this song, and they would go in a circle, and they'd have that eagle feather laying on the ground. When those guys, you know, they were ready to play, that eagle feather would stand up and dance with them. That's how much hiji or mojo that these guys had. You know, when they saw that, then they knew each one of those players were in the right mind, had, you know, was in that good frame of mind to test out their mojo during that time. And, you know, people got hurt during these times. It got rough, you know. So anyway, just kind of trying to paint that picture for you guys that may not know, you know. And, you know, a lot of tradition at these ceremonial grounds during that stickball time. You know, even their things that they would wear would be those red, I don't know what you would call those. What'd you call those, Tyler?
Well, it's kind of like a necklace, I guess. I mean, it's not really a necklace. It's more like a shirt or like a,
and then
but it's cut.
And then their loincloth.
Yeah.
That they used to play. And anyway, they would, you know, suit up like that. But all that stuff was, how you say, doctored. You know, even their sticks would be doctored. You know, they'd put medicine on every part of them, you know, to go out there and play that game. You know, and like I said, it got pretty rough. You know, some people got seriously hurt. You know, at one time that game was even banned, you know, in Oklahoma because it got so rough. You know, and anyway, to make a long story short, you know, afterwards they would have a dance. It was a good dance. You know, it was always, like I said, full of people coming out, you know, and enjoying themselves and taking medicine that they needed to take. You know, it strengthened those old bonds. You know, and again, we talked about this before. They would say, you know, if you have hard feelings or something like that, you're not in a good mood, don't come out because you're going to affect everybody. You know, if you're tainted, you're going to ruin and make everyone sick at the grounds. You know, if females are on their moon, you know, you got to sit out. You know, it was real strict back in the day, and you definitely didn't come buzzed up or smoking that sacred herb. You know, you'd refrain from all those things that would affect your mind or your behavior. And you definitely didn't have men and women coexisting with each other. And so again, you know, like I explained earlier, you have places for men to sit and women to sit. And you would have these camps around those grounds. You know, it was kind of like a short snapshot of those old paintings of Cahokia. You know, you'd see those tribal towns like that. But, you know, again, you know, there was a strong belief, you know, of how you're supposed to behave and how you're supposed to act. You know, you're supposed to be helpful and show love to everyone that come out, especially if you had visitors there. You know, make them feel welcome. And you invite them in, you feed them, you take good care of them. You know, sit with them and visit with them, you know, and show that you have good ways. You know, if you had visitors, that was an honor, you know. And they said, but, you know, sometimes, you know, when someone brings, you know, something negative, it affects the grounds. It affects everybody there. And, you know, if that's the case, somebody needs to say something, take care of those kind of things. So some of these evil things don't creep in and cause harm to anybody that's attending. And as this story goes, you know, I guess there was a family not getting along with themselves, you know, fighting over, you know, property and stuff, and they brought it out to the grounds, and they were told that if you guys can't leave that at the gate, then don't come in. And they reassured them, yeah, we're all cool. But yet they still had it, behind them in their minds. And they started to do that talking like, Indians can do. No. And anyway, they said, that kind of set the stage for the dance that evening, and they said that, that certain camp, you would see just weird things over there, just things that just weren't right, they said. And all night or all day, they just had weird things happen. Things just come up missing. Things show up in different places, and people were starting to complain. Somebody isn't right here. And at these dances, they're not like normal dances that you might be accustomed to. These dances start at midnight, and they go up till when the sun comes up. And there's parts where they take a break and they talk about things and they touch medicine, as they say. There's 4 times through the night that they do this. Anyway, even the first round, I guess you might say, they took a break and people were touching medicine, and you have men on one side touching it, and then you got women on the other side taking it as well, and anyway, people were lined up, doing what they got to do and washing and drinking and with this medicine. And they said this individual showed up, and they're his sister, and everybody was visiting with them and talking to them, and they even took medicine with them all 4 rounds. And come sun come up, that Hinihaw, which means the speaker of the grounds, he wanted to invite them to his camp to come eat with them. And they was looking all over for him. They was naming him, hollering for him, saying, come to my camp, come to my camp. And they usually send people to go look for, certain people, to send them to different camps, especially if they're visitors and maybe family members that come from long off. They want to see each other, so they'll send them to different camps, to go and eat. Anyway, everybody was looking for this brother and sister, and anyway, they just thought it was strange and kind of rude for these guys just to disappear, just out of nowhere. And anyway, I guess everybody finished up, ate, tore down their camp, and left. And next following week, they was at a different grounds, visiting, and this individual was talking to another individual from that grounds and said, I saw so-and-so and so-and-so. They came out to the dance, but they just left. So I thought that was rude, and that individual looked at him and said, are you sure it was that brother and sister? And he said, yeah. I said, it was just strange. They showed up. We haven't seen them in a long time and stuff. And he said, I don't think that was them. And he said, yeah, it was them. And a couple other people said, yeah, it was them. They, at our grounds, they sit in groups around the arena. You know who's from Polecat, who's from Greenleaf, who's from Duck Creek. They're all set in those groups like that. And they were telling them, no, that was them. And everybody was saying, that couldn't have been them. They said, why couldn't it have been them? And said that the man, he died of a heart attack, and the sister was going to go pick him up, and she got hit by a diesel, and she had died, and that was the month earlier before their dance. So, again, that some say it was because, they let the animosity in, and it was so prevalent they even took medicine with them. So,
That's crazy.
So, that's why they tell you, at these ceremonial dances, there's a certain way that you're supposed to do things. You're not supposed to tell nasty jokes. You're supposed to come there correct in that good heart, good way. You want to feed people. You want to take care of people. You want to be helpful. Somebody asks you to do something, you do it. You come in that good way, willing to work hard that week. And these dances, it is a lot of work. I mean, you just don't show up and everything's good, and then come midnight everybody goes home. No, there's a lot of work to all these dances, these ceremonies. They were hard, but it was to show your love for your Creator, love for your people, and love for your loved ones. This story, I'm gonna have one of you guys read it. 'Cause I'm losing my voice.
Oh,
Tyler.
want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead. And, he wants his name and everything.
He wants his name. This one. Let's see. This story is from Xavier Garza. And I hope that I'm going to pronounce these right, because these are not tribes that I'm familiar with. But it says, I'm Estogna. It's Carrizo, and Camarudo. Am I saying that right? If I'm not, I apologize. From Texas. I have a story that takes place after one of my first bear dances I danced in when I was about 12 years old. We had sweated out for the night, and everybody was up at my aunt's house eating, and I decided to walk home around 2 or 3 a.m., which is maybe only about 300 feet from my aunt's house. And right in front of the dance grounds, as I was walking, I heard a loud deer call, and I turned around to look in the darkness and of the dance ground, and I saw a giant white buck with blue eyes. I could only see from the chest up, no legs, and I could see his steamy breath coming from his nose. It shook its head at me and sounded like it was hitting his hooves on the ground hard, and before I could yell at it or anything, it charged at me. I ran back up to my aunt's house, breathing heavy, and I told my uncle about what I saw and how it charged at me, and he laughed and he told me, "You had met the deer spirit finally," and I have never seen that deer again after that night. And then he says, Nana Palex. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but yeah, I guess he saw the deer spirit. So that's a cool story.
Yeah, that is.
A white buck with blue eyes. I got 2 stories, actually, from Mr. Kev Tasaqua. Says, "Hey Tyler, I sent a story in a few months ago I want to share. It's about the house that we live in now. We have lived here for about 7 years, and we found out that the owner that built the house had died here. We have seen shadows going from room to room, and one of our friends was house sitting for us, and she saw a woman go from the living room to the kitchen. The woman she described was the image of the woman that died here. And now I'm going to send you a picture of my son, and I want you to look behind him and tell me what you all see. You may need to blow it up." And here's that picture, and I'll let you all blow it up. Look over his shoulder.
Oh, in a closet?
Yeah.
Nope.
Isn't that wild?
Okay. Let me see if Chris can see it. Let me hide it. No. I'm just kidding. No. Looks like a Michael Myers mask.
I know, man. That is scary.
Whoa. I'll put this on the episode. Send me this picture.
Yeah, I'll send you the picture.
Man, that's creepy, dude. I
Isn't
keep
it
looking at
creepy?
it.
I know.
I keep looking at it. Oh my god.
That is. But then you blow it out, like, it doesn't look like anything.
Yeah.
It almost looks like a light, like
I was-
behind him a little bit, like.
I was looking at this thing.
Oh, that thing.
Yeah, I was like, but dang.
I don't know what the smoke alarm maybe, or
Yeah.
doorbell. Maybe it's one of them old doorbells. But that's crazy. Yeah.
Oh
And
my
then he
gosh.
sent me another one too, because he said he didn't know also about us doing the service worker one, because his wife is a nurse. And he said back in the early 2000s, she worked at a veterans retirement home in Lawton. And one night, her and her coworkers were sitting at the nurses' station, and the red call light came on in a room. One of the nurses went down there, but the room was empty. So when she got back to her desk, it went on again, and my wife went down there this time, and she turned on the light, and all the cabinets were open, plus the closet door. She closed them all and took pictures with her phone, then turned out the light and went back to the desk. She told the other nurses what she saw, and then the light went on again, so they all three went to the room, and once again all the doors were open, so she took pictures of the doors and sent them to me. And I was looking at them in the window here, and in the window there was a shadow looking in the window, and it looked like a young soldier. And I told her about it, and all they saw was the shadow. A few days later, they were told a man died in that room, and that the family had a picture of him where he was younger in the Army, and that picture looked like the shadow. And I was like, whoa, that's awesome. Can I find those pictures? Or can you find those pictures? And he said, I wish I still had those pictures. So for some reason, he deleted those pictures. But that's a cool story, too. That's awesome. So thank you, Kev. Appreciate that. Mado.
If they happen to show up, send them.
And if you do find those pictures, send them in to us, because we'd like to see them.
Yeah.
All right, I got another story. This one comes from our Canadian relatives up in Canada. And anyway, this guy was, he's a leader amongst his people now, a spiritual leader. And he said when he was younger, he comes from a long line of these spiritual people from where he's from. And he said, when he was a young guy, he stayed with his grandparents, and they taught him all the things that he needed to know to make their medicine, and he said he had to go through a lot of different, I guess what you would say, kind of trainings, to become, this spiritual leader. And, he had to go out and learn a lot of things. He had to learn how to commune with nature and our animal brothers and sisters, and also talk to the elements that, their tribe believe in. And, he said, his both his grandparents had, meetings and took care of people, and he got to go to a lot of these meetings and watch and to learn, over his years, and he said the one that kind of has always been in his mind when his father's father took him to a home or a reservation up there that wasn't theirs, to help a family out. This family didn't want to go to any of their people because they didn't know, they didn't trust, their own, I guess you might say. So they called in his people to come in there and take care of things. And so they asked his grandfather to run this healing ceremony for this individual, and also to look at things to see what might be the issue, or who it might be, and so he went, and a few of his younger relatives went, because they were in the same boat as him. They were learning from him. He was teaching them the things that they needed to know, and plus his grandpa was up in age, could barely get around, and kind of like Russell helps me get around when we go to these places. Almost fell on him in Ralston, squashed him, but he took him, and they was learning, and the grandfather went in and talked with the family, and visited with this individual, and they was always had to wait outside, and he would holler at them to get whatever he needed, and this time the grandfather come out of that house, and he said, grandsons, I want y'all to stay in the back of the truck on this one. He said, I don't want y'all coming close to this house or anything. He said, there's something here that I'm gonna have to deal with here. And he asked one of the men from that family to come out and get his tools, his herbs, and his stuff that he was going to need. And he said, what I need you guys to do is go chop wood. He said, and I want y'all to build a fire. And he said, whatever y'all do, y'all hear come out of that house. Don't you guys coming in. Don't come in. He said, when I'm ready, I'll come out for you guys. Don't you dare come in. He said, I want y'all to stay. After y'all cut that wood and start that fire, I want y'all to stay in the back of that truck. And anyway, he said that grandpa, made his way back into the house, and those guys took his, stuff in there. And anyway, they began to hear, their ancient songs that they sing, coming from that house. And he said you begin to hear people screaming at each other, and they got scared, and they thought, well, maybe they might be doing something to their grandpa. Maybe it's him, because he said it sounded like him. But the older relative said, Grandpa told us not to go in there no matter what. He said, we need to listen to that. He's here to, help these people. Let's not go racing in, because, he was going to get mad, and we're going to be one screaming around after that. But, and they kept hearing that screaming, and anyway, it became night. They went there during the daytime. That was something I left out in this story. They went during the daytime. It began to get dark, and this kept going. You heard these different just crazy screams coming out of that house, and he said it was getting darker and darker outside, and he said right before the sun set, somebody saw something standing on top of that house, and he said it had horns on the top of its head, and it was walking up and down that roof, left to right, right to left. It was like it was pacing. And pretty soon, they said that thing turned its back to them, and it let out a big scream, and then it flew off. And the screams inside the house quit. And the grandpa he said it was maybe, he said it felt like forever, but it was probably about 5 or 10 minutes. The grandpa finally came out of the house, and he told those boys to come get his stuff, you know, that he was done. And afterwards, you know, after the family fed them and gave them things, you know, they were jumped back in the car, and the older relative, you know, was able to drive, you know, and they were driving back to their reservation. And they began to ask him, you know, what was going on in there, Grandpa? And he told them, you know, that thing that he had to deal with was an old spirit, and he named it. And he said this spirit is an evil spirit, and it's one that's been around for a long time. And he said it devours people from the inside out. And if you don't get rid of it, he said it'll take you in the most miserable way you can go. And he said, I don't think no one put this on them. He said, I think they were playing with something that they didn't know what they were playing with. And he said, I had to send it away.
That's why you don't play with Ouija boards, Russell.
Tyler.
I'm looking right at you. I see your Ouija board games right over there.
Right here.
I want to thank my Canadian brothers for sending that story. Whoa,
that was awesome. Yeah, that was a good story.
See, that's what it was? Ouija board?
Back then, you know, a lot of those tribes and all over, you know, they used to witch people left and right. So, you know, maybe they brought something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about that, too, like summoning stuff and
Yeah.
in a way that is just out there now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it could have been that, or, you know, every tribe had a way to talk to the dead. You know, that could be a whole different episode. You know, and, you know, sometimes when you channel those things, you know, you might channel the wrong thing. You know, it might be out there roaming around and it wants to be free. You know, these things, you know, they're a lot of people, they bring them to life. They take care of the individual that it was sent after, but they forget to put it back, and it's still running around, being wild, being Pawnee. No,
Being Tyler. No. True. Very true.
When I was reading that story, I automatically thought of like a gargoyle type thing.
That's what I thought about, too.
And I thought, man, that would have been cool if they would send it during that gargoyle story.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
They say how tall it was?
He said it was a pretty big figure. He
Yeah.
thought it was like about 5 feet tall.
Dang. And horns.
With horns. And it opened up and it flew off. So it must have had wings.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's pretty scary.
that's what I pictured when I was reading it. That kind of freaked me out myself just reading it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Tyler, draw it. Just kidding. Yeah, so if you missed this episode to send in stories, feel free to send them in anyways, and we might do a part 2. But let everybody know where to follow you guys.
you can find me on Instagram and TikTok under Christopher Honka Hill. Muddo.
You can find me, Tyler Randall, on Instagram, and you can find me at Skoden Cinema, or Skoden_Cinema on Instagram as well.
And follow me at Russellmus49 on Instagram, Okie Podcast, Russell Sunny Go on Facebook. And check us out. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Spirit Talkers. Follow us on TikTok, Spirit Talkers. And so, yeah. Till next time, everybody. Smudge up.
Muddo.
Mado.